What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today I want to talk about the Xbox problem because it is in a very strange spot that a lot of publishers, a lot of developers, a lot of people are just choosing to skip the Xbox. In 2024, we're beginning to notice this strange shift where people that are actually funding these games don't see Xbox as a profitable spot to even port your already finished games. And I want to talk about this, and I want to look at a bunch of different sources and tweets and all sorts of stuff because this is an interesting idea that Xbox, even though it is big, even though Game Pass is such a juggernaut, it does feel like a lot of people on the actual financial side of this are saying, why bother with Xbox? Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I do want to make it clear, this is not an Xbox hate video. I mean, it's very obvious that not only is Xbox still doing their best to pump up those Game Pass numbers, but they are making a lot of great stuff. I mean, especially this top row, I'm extremely excited for Diablo 4, Avowed, Doom the Dark Ages, Gears of War E-Day. I mean, there is no doubt about it. Microsoft Game Studios is definitely cranking it out. More of my thoughts are about the fact that yesterday during the Nintendo Direct, we saw a bunch of games that were coming to multiple platforms. A lot of stuff that's not just coming to Nintendo Switch, but is also coming to the PlayStation 5, to Steam, and to Xbox. But we began to see this trend of games that are coming to everything except Xbox. Exclusively not on Xbox is a term I keep seeing pop up of saying that they'll port it anywhere except for this. And a lot of Xbox fans, of course, are very pissed off about it, but I think it's interesting that just this year we see that the new Trials game, completely skipping Xbox, Horizon Adventure is coming to PC, it's coming to Nintendo Switch, it's coming to PS5 all day one. It is skipping only the Xbox, and even Black Myth Wukong, which looks fantastic, they had to delay it. The developers said that, quite frankly, the Xbox is very underpowered. They're having some issues developing it. But even beyond the technical aspects, I find it fascinating that we're entering what some people are calling the GameCube zone, where back in the previous generations of systems, back when it was the PlayStation 2 facing off against the original Xbox and the GameCube, there was this time where publishers were just completely ignoring the fact that the GameCube existed. Like, the GameCube still got a lot of great games. The GameCube still was incredibly popular, but it was interesting that people would just sit down and go, okay, well, the graphical capabilities of the PS2 and the Xbox are very easy to make stuff for. Let's make stuff there first, and maybe later on we'll possibly port it to the GameCube. The GameCube was treated as this secondary thing, and people are saying, man, you do not want to be in the GameCube zone because there is no escape. Now, the actual inspiration for this video was this fact that I keep seeing this clip go around from the Friends Per Second podcast, where these are all big games journalists. This is obviously Jake Baldino. This is SkillUp. This is Lucy James. These are all huge journalists, and their podcasts, a lot of times, not only does it talk about different gaming topics, but a lot of times they try and break stuff down from an industry analysis perspective, and they talked about the fact that they actually sat down and interviewed a bunch of developers about the state of Xbox, about the state of game sales, and they said that, quite frankly, games are just not selling on Xbox. They're just not. Like, people are in a spot where they are conditioned to get stuff on Game Pass. They have created this accidental double-edged sword where if you put something on Game Pass, Microsoft will pay the heck out of you. Like, Game Pass, from a developer perspective, a lot of people say that they will, most of the time, fund a lot of your development, and that's pretty dang cool. So people will take that Game Pass paycheck. But sometimes if you don't get offered a deal, or straight up you just don't want to take that money, it can permanently hurt it because Xbox gamers are going to go, okay, well, maybe it will eventually go on Game Pass. I don't want to buy it up front. So here's what's interesting is that some fans are not happy about this. Some people are claiming this is a lie. Maybe it's time for developers to stop thinking this way, because I hate to say it, but it's not true. Nobody's conditioned for anything. I buy my games on day one at full price if I want that game. There's been many times on Game Pass where I play a game, enjoy it, and buy it. Okay, well, I guess you know better than the developers. Okay, but I wanted to actually take a look at this because this is from their Patreon. This is something they referenced in this little clip. He's like, if you want to see our research data and see what the interview said, they essentially sat down with a bunch of developers and just said, okay, these are people that work on indie or AA stuff. This is not big AAA publishers. This is actually more of like a scaled down topic part of it. But they said like, okay, so we spoke to individual game makers from around the world who have published games on Xbox consoles in recent years and said, okay, so how do you guys feel about the platform following Microsoft closing Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Alpha Dog? And the overall takeaway was this: the perceived value of porting games to Xbox differed depending on the size of the studio, but one thing was clear: developers are now seeing very few people buy their games on Xbox, and they largely blame this on the behavioral shift that Xbox Game Pass has caused, which has now made a vicious cycle. Our Xbox sales have been the weakest without a doubt, said one developer with a much celebrated award-winning title that has ported to Xbox. So with Game Pass, oh my god, with exception of Game Pass revenue, our games sold less than 5% compared to our other titles. That is insane to think about. So if you put a game on every platform from PS5 to Nintendo Switch to Xbox and PC, 5% of total sales are come to the Xbox. That is insane to me. It seems like the thing that is still carrying this industry when it comes to AA and when it comes to indies is the Nintendo Switch, and it is PC. I will admit, I am still shocked. Like, the success of the Nintendo Switch will never stop melting my brain because I like the Nintendo Switch. I've certainly played in a lot of Nintendo Switch, but I'm somebody that's definitely completely on the Steam Deck bandwagon. I've been completely sucked into the power. I like the fact that with Steam Deck, it automatically cloud saves, passes my saves from my PC to my little system. Love that. But it is interesting that, if anything, Nintendo Switch gamers, more than anything else, they are crazy good about buying games, about buying physical, about actually supporting the stuff they like. So it's interesting that right now, that Nintendo Switch is like 20 times more powerful in the buying eyes of console developers than even the Xbox. You just aren't going to sell the same units as you would elsewhere, said one developer. It's a bit like trying to sell a DVD to someone who uses Netflix. Sure, people still do that from time to time, but you're not targeting the right audience. So this lack of Xbox, this constantly skipping Xbox, I think it's interesting to me because it is becoming this constant snowball effect. I always feel like there's this weird, like, the video game industry is very cyclical. We've definitely seen in the past where once something starts to get a bad reputation, even if the reputation is inaccurate, it becomes accurate. Like people who say, the PlayStation Portables got no games, even though it had a ton of games, but then it makes it so that nobody buys the system, so nobody ends up supporting it, so even people who port games to it end up not being able to get sales. It's this dangerous loop. And it's interesting to me that, if anything, Xbox is going down that path where the trend of Xbox doesn't have exclusives. You might as well buy a PC or buy a PS5 or buy a Nintendo Switch. Anything has more exclusives than Xbox. Or if you do get an Xbox, people always say, including myself, the best part about the Xbox is that Game Pass is so great. It's got so many games, even indies, even crazy stuff, even weird bonkers shadow drops. Like, Game Pass is the purpose of the Xbox. And so people are just not incentivized to sell games on the platform. I mean, think about this. I personally own about 2,000 games, like actual physical games. I have about 2,000 physical games, and a lot of those are retro for like PS2 and all sorts of different stuff. Like I have a big PS4 and a PS5 collection. I own 2 physical Xbox games. These are the only 2 physical Xbox games I have: Resident Evil 4 Remake and BioShock. And that's it. Now, keep in mind, obviously some people choose to buy more, but when's the last time you saw an Xbox collection? When's the last time you saw people actually bragging about the amount of Xbox games they own? Now, I do want to end this with a note that, yes, there are Xbox games that launch and are successful, but I feel like they're becoming outliers. They're becoming these unique situations where when a game does actually sell, it's interesting. Like this is a game that launched recently, Hypercharge. They've been hyping this for months. It is now the our indie game has climbed to number 3 in top paid charts. So huge props to these guys. But I almost feel like the fact that your game actually selling on the Xbox is being a big deal, I think it shows the fact that Xbox has accidentally created a not exactly fertile environment for sales growth. I'm not saying the Xbox sucks, I'm not saying the Xbox is dead, but at this point, it's just a Game Pass machine. And I think this problem is going to get a lot worse. I think the games that are coming to Xbox are going to get more and more first party, and third party is pretty much giving up. But what do you guys think about this? I think I'm just so, I feel like I'm on the sidelines because I do own all the systems. I do have everything, so I can play stuff anywhere, but I don't know. It's a weird one. But thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. By the way, I am working on a big Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree review. I have no idea when it's going to be out, but sometime this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somewhere in there. But love you guys very much. Thank you much for watching. You guys rock. Xbox. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.